The news driving this Trump trial is simple. You don't need to be a news junkie or a lawyer or a psychologist to grasp what's driving the trial of defendant Trump and why prosecutors, according to many headlines, have made headway with the jury in this case. The reason, and we saw this in court yesterday, is receipts. This trial, which is about many different issues and questions about witness credibility and political intrigue and all kinds of stuff, is currently working against Trump as a defendant because there are just so many receipts. The receipts include the onslaught of emails and secret texts and NDAs. And, as I mentioned last night, I was inside the courtroom yesterday in one of the rare coveted reporter seats. And I can tell you, we also saw, along with the jury, actual, literal receipts, the legal kind, written contracts of this whole sordid scheme to buy silence of women who had allegations against Trump during the campaign season, and the allegations that he and allies directly tried to hide in that campaign year. It's a pile of paperwork that is essentially burying defendant Trump's main defenses. Now remember, in the first week, Trump's lawyers detailed these certain Trump defenses. They were basically factual denials, and I'm reminding you what they said. It's very simple. The first two are these type of factual denials that nothing happened, he didn't do it, or if anything happened, his lawyer, Cohen, did it. Well, these receipts are shredding that kind of denial, and that really helps the DA's case. It also does something else strategic, and I've told you we're going to kind of live through this trial together, the first ever historic trial of a former president, and we're going to learn things as we go. So what we heard a month back about how it was going to go was a kind of projection based on some evidence. But now we're actually seeing how it works. And some of it's just interesting, even though the defendant's presumed innocent, even though he could still skate on a mistrial on a hung jury. But I can tell you legally, the DA is making headway with that jury that I watched yesterday. And that's because they're doing something strategic. I'll tell you right now what it is. The way they're trying this case is helping the jury see the facts, the core facts that Trump had this history, that he made these sort of purchases of silence, and that he did it for campaign-related reasons. They're making the jury see those kind of facts as arguably proven, as true, before they even hear from these star witnesses that we are told are so important. Big names that, even if you don't follow politics, most people now have heard of, like Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. Why? Why would you put your star that late? Well, we are seeing the strategic reason. If those witnesses for the jury end up feeling more like an afterthought, if they're just kind of the proverbial icing on this layer cake of receipts, then the DA has a strategy to basically show jurors, we already proved this, right? And you saw the receipts, and you saw all the double connections. You saw the lawyer on one side and the other side admit the same thing, and you saw the receipt for it, and you saw the NDA for it, and you saw that Trump paid for it. So their argument in plain English to the jury is it doesn't even matter if Trump's defense lawyer attacks some of those witnesses. It doesn't matter because you already knew what happened. It doesn't matter to the core case, which the receipts already confirmed, is what the DA argues. And the jury is seeing that paper trail. So I'm explaining to you why this matters. Now I'll show you some of this into the weeds, like a 2017 email from a White House aide asking for specific labels for the checks the president's just signed for Cohen. So this signature shows it, and the key aides knew it, and the funds all point to the same thing. Donald Trump paid Cohen back for an inflated amount for the secret deals. That's the money part. As for criminal intent, prosecutors want to prove Trump's driving motivation was this off-the-books campaign crime. And again, they are trying to get that pretty proven before Cohen ever takes the stand. So if Michael Cohen says it was clear to him that this was to do a campaign crime and do it off the books, and that's what he pled guilty to, and the Trump lawyers say, but who believes this guy? And here's the reasons you shouldn't. The jury will be told, through the receipts and everything else, you don't need Cohen for this. Remember everything we showed you in the beginning of the trial. And like other things in life, a lot of people feel like whatever they get first is more important. Now, on the campaign part, Trump and Clinton both clinched their party's nominations in June. Campaign politics stretched from June all the way through October 16, when the October 7th, year 16, when the Access Hollywood tape came out. That is when the jury saw that this lawyer for the women texted the Inquirer editor, Trump is effed. And the Inquirer guy responds, wave the white flag, it's over people. That was the mind state of the very people doing these secret deals. And it was in that month that there was nervousness because Cohen was kind of trying to walk away from paying anything. And prosecutors reveal how Cohen responded to that lawyer I mentioned. My guy's in 5 states today, 3 or 4 or 5 different states. There's nothing I can do. I'm doing everything I can, with some expletives as well. The point is, think about it. There's nothing Cohen could do because he needed Donald Trump's personal sign-off. And if he was flying around through 5 different states and in the air or on stage, he literally couldn't get to him. And if he couldn't get to him, he couldn't sign off. That undercuts what Trump's defense lawyers will tell you, the denial that I told you about, that, well, maybe Cohen did it all on his own. Or maybe you can't believe what Cohen says since he got in trouble. The receipt, the text shows at the time, in secret, before they had any idea any of this would ever go public this way, Cohen's story checks out. What they're going to tell the jury here is, and again, I'm not quoting this part yet, this is what you'd get in a closing argument, but what they're basically building up to tell the jury is, you don't have to believe anything Cohen said this year. You just have to believe the texts, because that's what they said then, because they're real. And this is a court. The judge tells the jury what evidence they should look at. That's what's admissible. The defense lawyers aren't allowed to do, fake news the way they do maybe on the campaign trail and say, oh, those texts were made up and they're fake. And no, they're not even allowed to say that kind of thing because that would be perjurious to the jury. So the texts show the problem. Now, court was actually dark today like it is most Wednesdays, so this defendant could make a Midwest campaign trip. We can mention that. He's back in court tomorrow. There'll be another gag order hearing with new violations alleged. This has higher stakes after the judge warned jail time as a possible penalty for violations. You see the sketch of the judge on the bench. He said that from the bench as well as in his written order finding Trump lost the gag order clash. They won't tolerate willful violations. If necessary, it will impose an incarceratory punishment. Incarceration, jail. The judge is holding the line while avoiding defendant Trump's efforts to try to lean in and turn it into a big clash of a circus. In fact, the judge even delayed dealing with the gag order thing longer than he had to, best as we can tell, because he said, let's just show everybody this thing is on. Show the defendant this thing is on. You're not capsizing and delaying this. Trump's allies are trying to take this $9,000 fine and turn it into the greatest injustice of the year or decade. They're presenting what is legally a fairly measured response from the judge as something more. Now remember, other defendants have been jailed before trial for smaller violations of a gag order than what we've seen here, which included lying about the judge's daughter and going after witnesses. So this was legally a measured response. Now, people can debate whether they like that or not. You can walk around the street and people say, Trump's getting away with it again. It should have been a tougher response. Other people can say they shouldn't even find him at all because what does $9,000 mean? You can have that debate. But as a factual matter, this was a measured response from the judge. Any lawyer, anyone with court trial history would tell you that. But over in some quarters, they're treating it as a kind of out-of-control judicial threat.
One, the $9,000 fine, contempt. I predict to you, Harris, there will never be a bigger fundraising moment for Donald Trump than this one.
They are threatening to throw the Republican nominee for president in jail for talking, Harris, for talking during an election. Now, I'm not a lawyer, just play one on TV, but according to the gag, you could have the Loch Ness Monster as a juror, and Trump can't say the Loch Ness Monster is real. That's $1,000. Boom, right there.
Just really helps you understand it, right? Can you just follow that analogy perfectly? Factually, that would be what you just heard, a misleading rendition of this gag order. But beyond conservative media, it's also worth noticing how the trial news keeps breaking through. We're seeing it in newspapers. We're seeing it in local coverage. We're seeing it as the big deal that it is. It is unprecedented. I don't say that to mean that it's automatically bad for Donald Trump. If everyone knows that he's on trial in New York City and he skates with a hung jury, it may play as some kind of comeback. But I'm just telling you what the Fox folks are spinning, that somehow there's an out-of-control judge and throwing a little Loch Ness Monster reference for good measure, that's not necessarily the way it's playing in the rest of the country. And there are plenty of punchlines on the internet and on late night about Trump's gag order loss.
I know. $9,000 may not seem like a lot to a successful businessman, but what about to Trump?
The judge also told Trump that if he continues to violate the gag order, he might lock him up. Melania was like, don't let the judge tell you what to do. Keep violating. Be a man.
The judge held Trump in contempt and fined him $9,000 for violating his gag order 9 times. Trump was like, but I get the 10th one free, right?
People know what's happening. This trial is going forward. I can't tell you what the outcome will be, and I'm not going to tell you whether the outcome is good or bad when it happens, because in the rule of law, it is actual justice that we're pursuing. That means that you have a fair trial, not one that is hijacked by threats of violence or by the defendant's antics or other outside pressure. But then, if you finish a fair trial, the result is the product of that fair trial. No one's going to be happy with any of all the outcomes. That's why we try to have a transparent, fair trial with the rule of law. I can tell you as a factual matter that this defendant opposes that kind of thing, both for himself and for others. I can tell you about that history. We've lived through that. But it is a hallmark of civilized society, of the civilization we want to be, not the one that we always are, that we afford those rights to all, regardless of who they are and regardless of whether they are a part of the regrettable group of people who would not afford those rights to others. You might say legally it is a type of Michelle Obama rule. You go high and stay high no matter what.